what's up you guys, this is Rob from Gay Guy Plays, and today on the Daily Grind, we are finally getting around to the U20 weapon nerfs. Now, if you guys haven't already checked it out, before we start going through the emotional spectrum, I want you guys to check out the Love Nothing video, and I'm actually going to put a little, what is it called, a card up in the corner, which is not usually something that I do at the very beginning of a video, but I want you guys to check that out. Get your feelings all sorted out and then get back over here because, shit changes, we gotta deal with it. Now, to soften the blow, we're actually gonna start with the Attica, and I can't believe that I forgot to put this in yesterday's videos. This is actually a weapon buff, and I have to say, I was pretty fucking, I felt really stupid. I was like, oh my god, I can't believe I forgot the Attica. The Attica is so good with the new update. Now, I do feel like I need to put something in with the reload because it's just not fast enough to kind of like deal with a lot of these high level targets. But as you can see, where the fuck is a recoil on this? There was like no look at the painful reload though. Well, I mean, let's be real. The reload's painful. Reload's painful, but with how fast it is like dealing with these fucking corrupted bombards, and you got to keep in mind, I have bladed rounds on this and not argon scope, so let's just go ahead. Oh shit, that's good. It is. There you go. Ha 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 ha, bitches. So we've got bladed rounds on this, which I only really got to take advantage of for like a couple of seconds. But this thing can put out some serious damage. Like, look at how it's shredding when you're not dealing with the reload. Literally, you spend more time reloading than you do shooting, which is pretty sad. But, as long as they give you their head, you can go ahead and tear through these guys pretty gosh darn quickly. It's really that reload that's killing it, to be honest with you. So the Attica, definitely check that one out. I do have a ribbon on it. Let me go ahead and show you the build. So that does kind of like nullify it a little bit because I do have a ribbon on it. But as you can see right here, it's just a general build with bladed rounds. It's a crit build. It's got some status on there too. Status is a little bit low on this. Not as big as the Z Huge. Yep, still saying that. But I might go ahead and do a couple of rerolls on the actual ribbon itself to kind of either boost that up or boost some of the critical damage from it, because that might actually give it even more oomph than it currently has now. I just kind of slapped that on there and called it a day. But what I want to show you guys next is, and this is where things get kind of ranty. Alright, I know that I don't rant often. I know that it's not something that I do too much, but I just gotta tell you right now, this just don't make any sense. Alright, so the Telesboltus has had a complete rework in the mechanic that it has. The first spin sucks enemies inwards, alright? Makes sense. Second spin shoots enemies away from you. That's where my issue lies. And then, on top of that, you get a little bit of a recharge timer as to how often you can use it. And it makes me angry. Because the fact is, with the Telesboltus, and this is a part of me that, like, okay, I get mechanics. This is where the mechanics come in. The sucking enemies in part makes sense because the Telesboltus has a shit ton of slide damage. So of course, you want to draw enemies close to you to go ahead and get them into slide damage range. That makes sense, alright? I will give them the props to that. But why the fuck do you have to make them launch them away? I'm like, no, that doesn't make any sense. And I get it, and on top of that, there's a timer. There's a timer to reuse the ability. I'm like, okay, so I can't suck them back in. I've sucked them in, which is good because you want them in there so you can start doing your slide damage and you can use your maiming strike builds and all of that kind of shit, right? But then you knock them away and then you put it on a recast timer? That doesn't make any sense. No, I want them close. I want them close so that I can go ahead. Where's this? I was looking for the rocket. I knew it was coming. I could hear it coming and I was like, where's this rocket? But legitimately, to me, that doesn't make any sense. You're not playing to the strengths of the weapon, and that frustrates me. Now, I would have understood if it was like the suck in, right? And maybe like a stagger. But why you gotta knock them away? I'm trying to slide at them to go ahead and get, the maiming strike critical shit, right? That just makes sense. And even if you put, even if you still use the recast timer on just the sucking part, that's fine, because then you have like a couple moments to like go ahead and do all your slide shit that you're trying to do. But instead, it's the slide and knock them away. I'm like, no, I'm trying to kill them. I'm not trying to push them out of my way. I'm trying to land in the kills, right? So to me, it doesn't make sense. And it kind of, for me, you know, because the old version was so strong. Let's be real, the old version was real strong. And I mean, if you are shocked that it somehow got a nerf, you really need to watch that Love Nothing video. You really gotta watch that Love Nothing video. But just the mechanic now doesn't make any sense. I get if it's like a suck in, then maybe a stagger, or a suck in and then knock down, but a suck in and then knock away, and then put it on a recast timer? That doesn't make any sense. At least to me, mechanically, doesn't make any sense. Like, let me suck them and then keep them there. Because if I'm sucking them, I want them close to me. I don't want them far, because that's where you slide on in, right? You suck them and then you slide it in. You suck them and then you slide them in. You don't suck them and then say bye-bye. That's not how that works. You don't just suck them and then bye-bye and then you slide them in. No, that doesn't make any sense. All right. So let's move on to a weapon that makes a little bit more sense. And I know that this is going to hurt some people, but I feel like we kind of need to talk about this because it makes more sense now, and there's a reason. I feel like there are multiple layers of reasons why they did this to this weapon, and it's going to be the Cyanoid Simulor. So now there's been videos circulating on the internet, or at least one video circulating that I caught that was like, oh, Cyanoid Simulor can red crit now. I tried the build, and it must have been patched out or something, and let me know in the comments if I'm missing something from the build. Let me show you the build. So I basically took that build and I was like, is there something I'm missing from that build that they used in the video to try it? Maybe it got patched out, maybe it's not doing what it's supposed to do anymore. I don't know. We're going to try this, and then we'll try a different build just to kind of like prove the point. I just don't like. I'm like, this is just what they used minus the ribbon, you know. So I'm kind of like, all right, let's see how this works, and let's see how it kind of makes sense now. So basically, what the Cyanoid Simulor did before is it would spit out these balls. It would spit out these balls, and on the combination of those balls, you would deal a shit ton of damage. And then the explosion didn't do as much damage. Like, and for me, I was like, does that make sense? Like, I would think that, you know, the combination of these balls would do a little bit of damage, and then after that, why is that one so close? Ooh, don't die. And then after that, the explosion would deal a shit ton of damage. Unfortunately, that's not how it worked, but that is how it works now. Because, I mean, if you think about it, you don't pelt someone in the head with a pentagrenade and then they die, and then the explosion, like, feels like a soft breeze. That's not how that works. Like, legitimately, you don't hit somebody with the Ogress rocket, and the Ogress rocket hurts more than the actual explosion itself. Now, I can see that they definitely did this for multiple reasons. One of the big reasons was which a lot of people kind of just left all of these orb things up, right? They just had a lot of these orb things up, and it would put a massive strain on the system. So what this does now is, number one, it prioritizes detonating the orbs, and it makes it a little bit easier for people who don't necessarily have the strongest system to cope with having things on the screen. Now, I do believe, I'm gonna die. I knew it, I could feel it in my bones, I'm gonna die. But that's what happens when you're having the discussion. So I feel like the weapon now makes sense. It makes sense as in what it's doing. It helps systems that can't really cope with it, but, you know, it upsets everybody else. And, I mean, I hate to say it, like, of course the mechanics on it did not necessarily make sense before. I get the stagger on, like, when they combine the ball combination. That makes a lot of sense. What doesn't make any sense is, where are these red crits coming from? Because I tried it, and it did not quite work. Now, of course, and the interesting thing about this is the Cyanoid Simulor, I don't think a lot of people saw it for kind of like what it was at its base mechanics. This thing is basically an energy version of, this thing was basically an energy version of an explosive weapon. And it was like a really interesting, like, what is it called? Cephalon version of what an explosive weapon should be. Now, interestingly enough, this is one of those kind of explosive weapons that can actually make use of status through its like little mini combinations. So I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of Vital Sense, because that just don't make sense now, right? It just doesn't make any sense. So I'm gonna toss in an infected clip. I could probably also toss in a can I use the fire one? Where are you at? I could probably use the, is it Firestorm? Well, I should probably be just typing it in because I'm terrible. Can I use Firestorm? Firestorm, no, can't use Firestorm on it, which sadly doesn't make any sense because you should be able to use, especially with the ball combination. I think I brought in the right build. I think I brought in the right Ash build, because really where these explosive weapons work the best is when it comes down to unarmored targets. Like, you know, you use them on the infested, you use them in a lot of different places. We're gonna just see how this performs on its own now. It still feels the same, you know, can't hate on it, it's doing what it does. And it, you know, I'm gonna be honest with you, I was never all that big a fan of the Cyanoid Simulor, so, you know, my heart does not go out to it. I was never a Cyanoid Simulor Mirage, unless, you know, I did it for a video. But really where this thing excels is just the exact same place that all of the other explosive weapons kind of, you know, excelled at. And that would be in the whole unarmored target scheme. Of course, this would be better if I was using Viral. However, I don't have that kind of forethought. So, Cyanoid Simulor, RIP, you know, at least you kind of make sense now and you're not hurting computers. It's kind of like they did it for the good of the computer systems, for all of the weak toaster systems out there. Don't blame me. I could not, you know, I personally couldn't give a shit if it got nerfed or not. But this is kind of what it is. And as I said, because I'm gonna get comments, I always get comments about this. I was like, yes, I understand. If I had used Viral, it would have been better, but or at least for this specific incarnation, it would have been better. However, I'm just kind of dicking around. This isn't like a serious try-hard video. If you want serious try-hard videos, you can go elsewhere. Well, depends on the day. It really depends on the day. Right now, it's just a chill day. Now we're going to talk about the Cyanoid. Now we're going to talk about the Tonquin, not the Cyanoid Simulor. Sorry, we're leaving you. Now this one, I don't know. I haven't checked the forums because, you know, I don't look there for information that is at all pertinent. But what it is basically the Cyanoid Simulor, sadly to me, I feel like it's lost a little bit of its spirit. While it did get, you know, the self-damage nerf, which a part of me was like, you know, it's probably gonna happen eventually. Let's not lie to ourselves. It's probably gonna get self-damage at some point in time. Especially because it was one of the most powerful, and probably still is, the most powerful explosive weapon in the game. However, I don't know, maybe it's just been so long since I've used it last, but is it me, or does the fire rate just feel really not as good now? I honestly couldn't tell you. It just doesn't feel like it used to, and I'll show you the build in a second. But it doesn't feel right, and the one thing that I have to say is, one of the things that I miss is, remember when you used to be able to do this, and you would get the little liney thing that would give you the angle at which it would fire in? We don't get that anymore, and I kind of don't like that. Now I'm holding down the button. I think, oh, I guess you can kind of see it. Maybe it has to do with the weapon's energy color, but it's very, very, very faint to see. So I guess you do end up seeing it. But one of the things that they did do with it, interestingly enough, I really can't fucking see that line. They gotta make it a little bit brighter. Even though it's a darker energy color, you still gotta make it a little bit brighter for me, please. One of the things they did do with it was it needs. Whoop, hold up, 1 second. Nope. It needs to travel a certain amount of meters before it'll explode. You bitch. It needs to travel a certain amount of meters before it explodes. So, as you can see here, I'm like literally firing it right in his general direction. And it's not exploding because it has not traveled, I believe it's 5 or 6 meters that it needs to travel before it actually does anything, right? So that's kind of like a little safety measure because of the way that it fires. and it also has a different like momentum and angle. Now, a part of me kind of liked the old bounce, and I guess, you know, I guess to make it more consistent, they kind of had to get rid of the bounce. But I feel like I feel like compared to its old angle, it does not feel the same. I get like the bounces that follow it. I'm trying to use, I'm trying to use the thing now, and I can't see it, which makes me sad. Maybe you should just make it one set color DE. Yeah, I can barely see it. No, right there. But as with always, the thing that really killed it for me though was the knocking it down by 20 to 25%, the critical chance from 25% from, I believe it was 35%. And at that, it was like 80+% chance to crit. Now it's at a 60% chance to crit. You get Argon Scope on that, you know, and I know a lot of people are like, well, Argon Scope doesn't trigger the way that it used to, but if you know, are able to aim your shots right, which I feel like you can aim your shots a little bit better here than you were before, but if you combine that with Argon Scope, and there's the self-damage that we're talking about, if you combine that with Argon Scope, you could get red crits. Now you can't do that, and so it's not even worth trying for headshots anymore. I mean, you could, but as always, like these shootery explosive weapons are always better when it comes to unarmored targets anyway. So I mean, you know, if you're thinking using it on infested, or using it on missions where you have corrosive projection, or you have some damage buffs like with sonar, it's fine. It still does what it does. The Tonquin still basically, can you please fuck off? Can you please not stand so close to me? It's all of the old Loki tendencies, but now amplified even more. Now, when it came to the self-damage, I feel that's the thing for me that really made it suck, is I feel like the Tonquin lost a lot of its spirit with the nerf. Cause you know, it was the bouncy, like all over the place, I'm gonna shoot grenades. And now it's like, it's lost its bounce. The follow-up bounce is okay, I get it, but the initial like angle doesn't feel as bouncy as it used to. And in addition, you know, we've got the self-damage now, and it doesn't have as much crit, and I just feel like it kind of lost its spirit. Like, I'm like, hey, listen, you can change the momentum, alright, I get it, change the momentum, fine. You can change the self-damage thing, fine, you know, just get good, and I'm gonna put that out there into the universe. Just, you know, you probably shouldn't be firing explosives like 2 meters away from your face. And even then, you have that grace period. You have that grace period of 3 seconds to get the fuck out of there, and it needs to travel a certain amount of meters. But you killed it when you kind of knocked down its crit. I'm like, you took away everything else. You took away all the fun stuff, but you had to take away like 10% crit. I get it, it's still powerful as fuck. You pair that with an Adarza, you pair that with a Smita, it's still gonna wreck face. But that's the thing that kind of hurt me the most, is like, I'm like, aww, but you used to be fun, you used to be powerful and fun at the same time, and now you're just powerful. I mean, you're still powerful, you're just, you know, a little bit less powerful and less fun, which for me is like, you know, to me that always kind of mattered, is like, you gotta have fun with it, right? And I kind of feel like some of that is gone with this weapon. I was like, no, come on, oh, you bitch. You gotta have a little bit of fun, and that's really where kind of like the Tonquin lost it out for me. I'm like, no, I don't have as much joyous fun with you as I used to have. And rip all of the Tonquin Zephyrs out there. Be careful with that shit. Be careful with that shit. But yeah, so those are my feelings on the nerfs. A lot of them, like with the Telos Boltus spinny thing, that one was just weird to me. The Sideroad Simulator made sense. You know, it also made sense, but killed the fun. It's just, I'm like, oh, you gotta kill my fun. But the Attica, though, right? Let's leave it on a positive note. So I'm gonna cut it off there. So, as always, love somebody, hurt nobody, and touch yo body. And watch the Love Nothing video. If you're feeling bad, if you feel like, you know, if you're feeling like, oh shit, goddamn DE's gotta nerf everything, watch that video. Because, you know, that'll put some things in perspective for you, alright? I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye!